Record. Hello. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Joseph.
I get to start, and I am starting. I'm just going to say thank you all so much for coming. It's kind of interesting. I'm speaking to you from Palm Springs, if you don't know, where it's currently 645 degrees outside. So I'm more than fine sitting here and doing nothing. A couple of housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. So if you have to hop off and wish to go someplace else, that's great. We will post where you can find it again. It's kind of a glamorous infomercial because we got so many inquiries from people about what this platform is and how it came about and what it's doing and how it can help businesses. We're just like, okay, let's just put that out there and make it happen, right? So that having been said, if you have questions, we do have the question panel open. So by all means, we will answer your questions as we can. I kind of go like this because I have the questions over on this screen, but you all are over on this screen. And there we go. So onward to one more. Welcome to Designer Discovery. You're going to hear about me later. My name is Joseph Aldrich, for those of you who don't know, and we're kind of mixing things up rather than do self-introductions. Beth and I have opted to introduce each other in today's.
A little scary.
A little scary, it's true. So I partnered with Beth Bender. Oh, what? You don't know Beth Bender? Well, let me tell you about Beth Bender. Beth Bender is a partner in the Dove Agency, which is located in Dallas, Texas, for all of you who don't know, which is currently COVID central. So we're glad that she's actually ensconced in a glass bubble. And the Dove Agency does back-end financial work, as well as PR and marketing for interior designers nationally. Lest you think it's just Beth and I operating in our den, there's actually a whole support team behind Designer Discovery, some of whom I think might actually be here on the program with us today. But Beth is the, are we calling you the president, CEO, co-founder? What are you of the Dove Agency?
I am principal and co-founder.
Principal and co-founder of the Dove
Yes.
Agency. Yes. She has a degree from Vanderbilt University, and she's kind of as Southern gets.
Southern, but not too fancy, right?
Southern, but not too fancy to me. And more importantly, Beth is mother to two college-age fellas who are all currently at home. So between her husband and her college kids, Beth lives in a testosterone test tube full of macho men who do nothing but work out and compete athletically all day.
It's very true.
But also, fun fact number one, apparently Beth pretends to golf. She plays a great game of golf, apparently. That's her sporting activity. And then she also is obsessed with blue and white china. So if you are any of the blue and white people, Delft is heaven for her. But more importantly, if you find yourself in Dallas, I would say pay attention to fun fact number 3. Beth has the party house. At any given point in time, there's alcohol flowing and people running around, and usually, you know, college kids sleeping on the floor. So if you're bored, off to Dallas go you. That's all you need to know about that.
That's good. That's good. I'm blushing. So we did not discuss with each other what we were going to say and ahead of time. And so I'm over here blushing because it's all true. Not things that a lot of people know about me, but all true. And hey, you know what? This industry is like family to me. So there you go. That's me in a nutshell there, Joseph. Yeah, when Joseph said, let's introduce each other, I did have some reservations because I didn't know what in the world you were going to say about me. But also because I have yet to be able to pronounce Joseph's last name. And And it's
True.
the first couple of times that I mentioned Joseph and said his last name, you can see I'm not even going to say it now because I will say it wrong. The first couple of times I said his last name, he called up and he said, you really cannot say my last name. So we practiced it. We worked on it. We practiced it. And I never got it with quite the right inflection. And so at that point, I just promised Joseph, I'm done. I'm never saying your last name again. So I'm here to introduce
Try it just for once.
Joseph. No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not.
Whatever.
It's Aldrich. Aldrich.
Aldrich.
Oh God. Okay. Well, we're gonna move on. But okay. So in all seriousness though, see, I put together my little statements about you, and it almost brought me to tears. So while you're talking about my boys and the testosterone flowing and the alcohol flowing, I'm going to talk about how you're honestly, Joseph, one of the great things that's happened for me in 2020. So no, but truly, meeting Joseph, I think I met you first, Joseph, a couple of years ago, and I knew that you were a marketing communications guru. I think you probably know just about everyone in this industry. I have seen firsthand how hard you work to make sure your clients are positioned for success. One of the things that I value so much about Joseph, and a fun fact about Joseph, is he is a straight shooter. As straight as, I mean, you shoot it straight as better than anybody I know. Matter of fact, when I got on today to get ready to do this, Joseph goes, so is that the shirt you're wearing today? Is that, no, you didn't say shirt, you said blouse.
I did.
Yes, sorry, you say shirt. Like I said, I'm not fancy, you are. You said, is that the blouse you're wearing today? And then about 5 minutes later, you go, what are you doing with your hair? And I was like, okay, Joseph. I love your straight shooting, but right before I go on a, Zoom live, maybe tone it down a bit. But Joseph, 99.9% of the time, I love the fact that you're a straight shooter. And I think probably that's what makes you so great at what you do, because you know how to position your clients for success, and you do it in a way that it seems seamless for you. And I have so much respect for that. You're authentic. And I think if you want to know the best cocktail for a Friday night, you need to be following along with Joseph's Instagram, because he always has a fantastic menu. And fun fact number 2 is Joseph took up jump roping during COVID. And so many of our early meetings were either pre or post workout. And so I have a very good understanding of the muscle tone, the defined muscle tone that Joseph has. Fun fact number 2. And fun fact number 3 is that more than likely, Joseph just has on boxers at this moment. That's fun fact number 3. Am I wrong or am I right?
This is actually one of those, which of these is a lie situation, right?
So I think that we will, now that we've done big introductions, and I think that the reason we wanted to do that is because we wanted everybody to realize that this crazy idea of designer discovery was put together by Joseph and I, and we've had a lot of fun doing it, and we've gotten to know each other really well doing it. And I think that there's a lot of respect for each other and for the other people in the industry that have come alongside us. A lot of you are on here today, and we couldn't have done it without everybody being involved in it with us. So I think that I know Joseph thinks this way too, but we've always believed that we're better together. And in the second week of March, I think we were all in that momentary panic of what's happened. What are we going to do? How are we going to continue to help our clients? And I think we knew intuitively that, our clients' growth goals were going to be totally dependent upon us coming up with alternative ways to showcase talent and products. And that it was going to require us reaching out to one another. And that included competitors in the market to get through this. And I think I reached out to Joseph, like I said, who at the time was really more just a professional acquaintance to me. I had so much respect for him, and when everything was happening, and I was thinking, who am I going to reach out to, just to ask, how are you getting through this? Joseph was one of the first people that came to my mind, and in conversations, Joseph and I started to discuss how do we build a structured way to introduce working designers, really around the country to brands that might not have the budget to heavily advertise and who would have really relied on the markets to showcase their products or their services or their talents or whatever. And, Joseph and I, when we were talking, we like to say, we were really looking for a way to bring that experience of strolling around High Point's Suites at Market Square, and you find that new brand and you'd never seen it before, and you see it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you go to the next showroom and you tell a friend, oh, you got to go check out this new product or this new brand that I found. And then it just tends to roll. And there's a lot of that networking and sharing. And how do you do that in this new world? How do you do that in a virtual way? And that was what we were missing when COVID first hit. And so in essence, really, that was the strong motivation behind Designer Discovery. Really logically, I think it made sense for Joseph and I to collaborate on this adventure. We had enough passion to want to do it. We had, I think, between the two of us, enough industry friends that we believed we could call on to help us. But most importantly, we knew it was what our clients needed. And so we assumed that if it's what our clients needed, that maybe it was something that would help others and that others needed as well. And so we really built this platform for everybody. But in doing that, we had some personal experiences walking through what was happening with our current clients. And so we officially launched Designer Discovery in April. And since then, we have I think we've been thrilled with the response. But I am going to stop talking now, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Joseph, no name, last name, that I will not say his last name, and let him talk about and really show you guys the program.
Oh, hello. So what Beth doesn't know is that there's something that's even more elusive than my last name, and that's my middle name. I don't think that but there's only like 6 people who know my middle name.
Okay, do share.
No.
All right.
So really, the conversation, and Beth was wonderful about it, the conversation really became very centric upon, how when you go to market, you have 2 groups of people. You have people who are buying stuff and you have people who are selling stuff, right? And the world that we live in is very, how can we get people who sell stuff to get in front of people who buy stuff, right? And really, how can you do it when you can't leave your house, And this was in March before then, and the holiday was, okay, great. And really what it became is an exercise in figuring out how people use these new tools that they have in front of them, from social media to the internet to websites and to brands, and to kind of figure out, okay, how do people use stuff, and how can designers grow their footprint, which is so essential these days, and how can brands get in front of these people in a way that makes sense and is logical. And because I'm kind of I call myself a data whore, right? Because I like data and I like numbers and I like things that are quantifiable. I always go, and how can we make it countable, right? And how can we do stuff? So we're sitting around, and the first idea that we came up with was, all of these designers these days, they do go on, okay, I'm gonna pause for a moment because this is the part where the title of the program actually starts to work in with what we're doing, because it really became an exercise. Yep, it really became an exercise in how do people find products when you can't leave your house. Because my big fear is, I live in California where everything is Starbucks, right? And this is my analogy, is that I just don't want to live in a world where everything is Starbucks. And the brands that people need to look at are so incredibly important to our industry. So it's like, okay, how do people do this? And Beth was like, oh, well, we should get designers to talk about it because designers do stuff. So like, okay, great. Let's get a whole group of designers. But because I'm a numbers person, I'm like, oh, well, I can't just be designers, right? You know, if it needs to be designers that are, for lack of a better phrase, curated. So what we tapped into was the idea of a micro influencer. And everyone's very familiar with the concept of a standard influencer, which are people who live in an industry that have 927 million followers, right? When you're a brand that wants the right people to buy your product, you want to make sure that you have the right people. And that's something that Beth and I are very passionate about. You know, we call them working designers. I don't know if that's the right word still, but it's designers who are looking for those unique products and the smaller, quiet things, you know, that make our industry so special and unique. Because when you're a designer, like Libby Langdon here, those are the products that make your environment and your job work. So we wanted to tap into that. So we started curating these designers, and I'm like, oh, well, you can't just have it. Let's have it set up so that we have this wide geographic map. So we we go through this horrible exercise where we go through. It's wonderfully interesting, right? Yeah. And if you're a designer and you're on here, and if you're a designer and you aren't on our program yet, send an email, you know, and let us know how it works, right? Where we wanted to have what we call equal coverage across the country. So it's like, okay, you know, because there are working designers in New York, lots of them. There are working designers in Texas, lots of them. But there are also working designers in Chicago and in the Pacific Northeast and even in Alaska. So we're like, oh, let's get people across the country. So we're like, oh, okay, great. And so we always looked for designers who have, you know, community engagement in geographic areas. The idea being that if you're a brand, you have the ability to reach a broad swath, like you would be able to with market. And oddly enough, we ended up speaking with people who do what we do in kind of a collective format. So people who have clients who are designers who are like, oh, my designer would love to be involved in your program, right? Okay, great, that's wonderful, let's do that. So we talked to them, they gave us designers, we're like, oh, okay, well, you know, what brands do you have? And people are like, oh, well, I work with this company in North Carolina that does wallpaper. So we then started collecting all of these brands. And again, they're brands that you wouldn't see normally because they're brands that sell particularly to interior designers or to retail, places like that. And the whole idea being to get these people engaged with one another so that they can go from meeting to discovering to showing their products, right? That then can lead into specifications. And the tagline that we always used is that designer discovery is influencer marketing for the masses when the masses are influencers, right? So it's really taking advantage of the fact that, you know, if you're a designer or you're a brand, you know, I told two friends and they told two friends and they told two friends, right? In which case everybody can impact everything. So it was really creating a product that addressed all of those steps of the process, right? And if you don't know, those of you who are designers, yay, thank you for your engaged community. But those of you who are brands, micro influencers are people who have smaller but very engaged communities within a reach, you know, that's important. So we started generating lists of this and lists of that. And then what we ended up doing was, let me see if I can find my list. Pardon me. Oops, there we go. Look, it worked.
I love it when technology works. No, no, it's okay.
Technically, how it works is that, and then I think we have a couple of people on here who have designers who are participating. So you may not have received this yet. Our designers get these sheets where we have, every month we have 4 categories, and every category has 4 vendors in it. And we go to our micro influencer designers and say, okay, hey, go look at these products and choose one from each category. Okay, great. And then just simple ask, put it on your social media, right? And talk about it and do some tagging and let people know about this brand that you found out. You know, in the same way when you were going through, I always go back to Market Square. When you're going through Market Square, it's like, oh, you know, I found this great rug company while I was in line at Starbucks one day, and they make great stuff. Everyone should go look at them. Okay, great, thanks. But you get these, and then they go through, and then we move over here. Oops, then we go over here. And they put it on their feeds, and it looks a little bit kind of like Yay. Now, this is from Yates Design from Texas, and this is one that they did that worked out really, really well. Because you can see it kind of gave people an image of a product that they liked, and then it engaged quite a number of people. And see, this is the part that I like, found the perfect like that. So it helps, right? It helps them find a solution for their design that they were doing. But then they went through and there's Engage. This is the lighting designer that actually did it. And it got some pretty darn good play, including from these people, right? And again, the whole idea being to get that product in front of people so that we can leverage the power of a designer's social footprint to help these great brands get in front of people, right? But then we were like, oh, well, that's great once, but what can we do to keep that going? You know, what's in it? And we're like, oh, well, because I like programming and I was bored because it was COVID. I'm like, oh, we should like do dumb stuff, right? So over here on our feed, you can see how it works. But then we started doing these things called programming. Again, that lives on forever because the internet never dies, right? That is essentially designers and brands doing what I call virtual visits. And they're just kind of showroom. If you were walking around and you meandered into a showroom, hey, what are you and what have you got? You know, and having that experience be more reachable by a wider number of people because it stays on forever. And these have we just did this one today, but as you can see, it's getting traction and people are paying attention. And everyone always likes it at the end of the day. But then also we have gone one step further because we send out direct communication to people that not only talks about our designers, right? So we talk about designers, right? Again, because the idea is to have a bi-directional discovery, because it's nice when brands can discover designers and when discoverers can, you know, discover brands. It's all the same way. And it gives everyone, these all go through, right? But equally, I love this part because this is all backed up by the brands that we work with. And again, this goes through to their individual pages that Beth is actually going to talk about. And again, so it's just this it's this loop that takes into consideration, you know, what brands need today and what products need today. And that's a way to maximize social exposure in a world that's so very crowded by helping target things down and really be specific about who they're appealing to. And then it creates a relatable and consistent resource base for people who are going to buy stuff, right? Because the idea being that all of these tools drive people back. So it's more than just, it turned out to be much more than just a social media program, to be honest with you. It had a lot to do with, you know, creating resource listings for brands and directories that kind of took the place of a market experience. But I think Beth is going to talk more about that. So take it away.
So I think that, you know, it was obviously, I think Joseph, you've shared kind of our thought process as we went through trying to figure out what each next step looked like. And it really was a lot of, you know, this just, oh my, okay, well, what do we do next? Well, we're in the middle of this thing. And so what does the next step look like? And it was a lot of late night conversations, a lot of early morning conversations, as we saw this just growing, and it just continued to evolve at times faster than we could even catch up. And I think that from day one, we realized this had legs. We realized that this baby was wanting to start walking and we needed it to crawl. And so we were trying to kind of take it back a step and figure out what we were doing as this thing was racing forward. And we had a lot of good fun trying to figure out how to slow something down that wanted to go faster than we were able to catch up. But I will say, I will say that we would not have been able to even get to where we are today had it not been for a lot of the partnerships that came out in the last couple of months. You know, originally those partnerships were just started off as conversations. You know, Joseph, like I said, one of the reasons that I have a lot of respect for him is I truly think he knows every single person in this industry. And so when we needed a specific brand, or we were looking for, you know, a specific kind of design or whatever, Joseph was like, oh, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that can bring that to the table. And so we were reaching out to other publicists, marketing professionals, trade organizations, design markets, publishers. You probably name the person in the industry, and we have reached out to them or tried to reach out to them. And last month, we were able to partner with Business of Home. We partnered again with Business of Home this month. We partnered with High Point Market Authority and Style Spotters last month, which was fun. And recently, we've partnered with the Black Artists and Designers Guild. And one of the things that we partnered with High Point on was this idea that the platform needed to evolve beyond just the featured designers and featured brands, because there were a lot of brands that were hearing about what we were doing through their designer friends. And they were contacting us and saying, hey, this sounds really fun. I would really like to be featured in your program. And we're only featuring 4 categories, 4 brands in each category. And there's hundreds and hundreds of brands out there that need to be seen. And so the thought was, what do we need to do, or how can we use this platform to be able to highlight more brands? And so we came up with the idea of having the brand directory, and High Point sponsored this and jumped in as partners with us on this for last month. And it's been really fun to see as we have been able to now add a new element to this program where we can have brands go through basically a journey with us, where they can start with, oh my gosh, I sounded like I was on The Bachelor with that journey. Sorry.
Would you like this, Rose?
It's The Bachelor. Started with being on the directory, and then they can move from the directory through, we can add programming around the directory, and then we have a constant bank of different brands to be able to pull from for those featured brands. We can constantly know that we have a wealth of, you know, resources right there in our own directory, as well as the other side of that is there were people that we wanted to reach out to about being featured brands, but we didn't want, after the month was over, for them to just go away. We wanted to be able to give them an opportunity to stay on the platform even beyond the month that they were a featured brand. And so that is really the purpose of the directory, is to give some permanence to the conversations. as all of these social conversations are having, that's where the magic is. The magic is so much over on the designers and the brands and the connections that are being made through this. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a platform that we could give permanence to that and we could house some of those conversations. And so a lot of the programming that we're doing, we're able to put on our YouTube channel. We're able to connect to the directory listing. So Joseph, if you'll go to Lancaster and click on Lancaster, I want to show something on that one. Okay, so a directory listing, essentially is a little write-up of some images, but then one of the things that we are just now starting to add on that's fun, if you scroll to the very bottom, we obviously give links to their social and to their website, but we're starting to add on, and I'm going to use a word that Joseph hates, is testimonials. Every time I say we need a testimonial element, Joseph rolls his eyes at me because I think of them as testimonials, but really in essence, what they are is they are snippets of the conversation. Is that better, Joseph?
Yes.
There we go. A snippet of the conversation between a designer and a brand. And it allows when somebody's visiting this page to say, interesting, I don't know that designer, but I'm tying a relationship now between that designer and that brand together. So now I want to go and I want to find out not just about the brand, but also about that designer. And somebody asked in a conversation that we had a while back, somebody asked me, so I still don't understand what's in it for the designers. And honestly, it just like totally stumped me for a minute. I was like, what's in it for the designers? Well, we promote them and they get new followers. In my mind, I'm like wrestling with all these things that in my mind, I'm thinking this platform is giving to the designers. And then it just kind of stopped and it hit me. Really, this platform is not being built to give really or to do anything for the designers. I think in the reality of the situation is that this community wants to support one another. I think that was so obvious in those first couple of months of COVID, as what you saw was designers and brands doing Insta Lives, getting together, having conversations on social, all of I challenge you to do this and I challenge you to do this, all those challenges that were circular on Instagram, where it was all about how do we support one another in this brand new world that we're trying to figure out right now in real time. And so because we're all a community that's made up of small businesses and brands and designers are truly dependent upon one another for success, I don't think it's necessarily that anybody needs designer discovery to be able to have a conversation, or that they need us to facilitate the conversation. I look at what we're doing as just a platform to, again, give permanence to it, to house it, to give a place that can be a central location that people can find a lot of those conversations. They can find a lot of the content that they're looking for in one central home. And I think that that's why it's going to be crucial for this baby to ever get to the point where it becomes a teenager sleeping on my floor. No, kidding. With my boys. For it ever to become a teenager sleeping on my floor. I think that it's going to need the whole community. And I think that this community wants to support one another. And I think that that's why we've had such a fantastic response to this, is the community understands that whereas Joseph and I might be the ones that are coming up with the brainchild of it, and we're wrestling with some of the harder tactical day-to-day implementation questions, and we're putting the team together to do it. It really is going to be dependent upon this idea that designers and brands want to help each other and they want to support each other. So
Joseph raised her hand. Yes, Libby, what is your question? Or is she just going, or is she preaching? Is that like I don't know what the hand thing means.
I don't know.
What's the hand thing?
I think it, is it a high five? I don't know.
I don't know. to go back to kind of what the whole nucleus of the presentation is that it's, you know, a new discovery. And really in this new world order, the idea is that brands and designers kind of have to be everywhere without being anywhere. So it's really, you know, when you go and you're a designer and you go places and you do stuff, and I'm gonna roll back for just a minute because I want to take one minor issue with Beth. I think that there's actually quite a lot in it for the designer. And I mean, there is the concept of participation, right? Because what we have found is that a lot of the designers that we work with, they realize that in 2020 that getting to 25 or 30,000 followers is a very difficult chore. The algorithm changes all the time, no matter what property you're on, right? And so what it gives the designer is the ability to create a larger footprint that's really based upon their activity level, you know, and what we do and what the people that are like us do is it helps, you know, it helps designers engage with a community. You know, one of the things that's great about Market, and when you go, whether it's Las Vegas or you go to the D&D building, is that you have this nucleus and you have this very small little microcosm of a universe, which is designers and the product that they use. So it gets you into that shell and it keeps you there. You know, and one of my favorite examples is Design Legacy, because I love Kelly O'Neill. He has some great product, but he's been a participant, you know, on several things. And what we did with him was we paired him with this fabulous designer called Rachel Moriarty, who is so his vibe, but it got her as a designer learning about his products, you know, because a lot of the designers that we work with, when we go, oh, great, let's do this, they go, no, I want to talk about X, Y, Z, because they don't know about those people, right? And so now Kelly told me before, he said, I have a client now because of this, but more importantly, it gets designers participating and doing the things that designers need to do to grow their brand, right? Because if you're not, God bless Martin Bullard and Schumacher, you know, you still need to concentrate on your own brand in this particular day and age, right? You know, and with all things new in the world, we came out quite fast and we're growing, our web traffic is growing, our list grew, I think 25%, actually no, since yesterday, 25%, you know, monthly is what it's growing. The web traffic is increasing. So it's really doing what we need to do, because in order to discover in 2020, you need to be on social media, you need to be doing programming in any way, shape, or form that you possibly can. And you need to be participating in programming and engaging with designers. And that's kind of what this does on many levels. So with that.
I love what Libby just said. I appreciate this, Libby. She said, the awesome thing is it helps designers when we hit sourcing fatigue. We are at home and not at our offices. So you offer so many fab new brands for us to discover. Thank you. It's awesome. So we appreciate that. That's really sweet, Libby.
There's that one. And so that's kind of the program in a nutshell. This is where we ask questions. Does anybody have any questions in particular? At all? Questions? Open to answer live. There we go. That's done. These are both answered. Done. Will we be doing any video? So Libby, these are all actually live. So yes, they are live not only on the Instagram TV, but we have a YouTube channel that we're creating. So when we do the programs, designers can say, look, this is what I'm capable of doing. And it gives the brands have a way to do kind of an overview. So yes.
And just if I could jump in there and say something about that too, on this page that you're looking at right now. So, you know, we've done two types of video programs, and I think that we'll be expanding on this as we go. But one is this idea of pairing the designer with the brand to be able to do kind of a mutual discovery of one another. And that's been fun to see. And that's what, was the one with Kelly O'Neill and what we did with Aloka. And then the other is we have, made the decision that every brand that is going to be coming into the directory, one of the things that we're going to be doing with them is having Brittany, who you see, right? She's, there you go. Brittany right there. Brittany Gaskell will be doing, just a 20 to 25 minute, hey, who are you? Let's chit chat. Let's talk about, what you're passionate about. Let me see your showroom. Let me see some of your newest stuff. And that's going to also be out there so that every directory listing can have a link off to their programming.
And then we did have some more brand specific, I call them offline events, some private seminars and showings that were not on the social media. We had those planned, but events pushed those back because we do intend to do that. And then one of the things that we're also keeping tabs on is what the market situation is across the country, because we would like to go and do virtual market tours with some of our brands, some of our designers, but we don't know what that's going to look like, right? So the idea had been, if you can't go to Market Square, well, golly, we have people who are in North Carolina. Why don't we just send them to Market Square and kind of do little tours like this, which if you haven't gone on, not to be like a complete infomercial, if you haven't gone on and watched the videos, it gives you an idea of what we're all about, because these are just really beautiful, quiet brands that are showing us their products and telling us their stories, which is what this industry is so completely in need of. And then to answer back, Jeffrey, details about new brands. We love new brand referrals. You can send them to anyone at the Dove Agency.
Yes, you can send, and the best thing to do is you can, we're going to put out an Instagram post within the next 24 hours. It will be a graphic that will have the email address of where new brands and new brand referrals can be sent to. That it's basically directory@designer-discovery.com. But we will put out a graphic post. So hopefully our team that's watching this is hearing this, and more than likely we'll be able to put that together before we even get off.
And then Libby, some of the things that we wanted to add to the platform. So I'm very keen on keeping up the, I call it like a wish list, or you should know these people, right? Because every designer in the world has a brand that they work with that was like, oh my God, everybody needs to know about this. I wish everybody knew about Osa Breeze wallpaper, right? Or I wish everybody knew about Libby Langton's furniture line for Fairfield. But you just don't have the time. So if all goes well, this is a tool that people could use to kind of supplement, because let's face facts, you can't be everywhere all the time. So people can use as a resource to find things that they didn't necessarily see, with a more critical eye is kind of the way that I go. I'm not one for, I don't see it as becoming like a trend source, right? Because Beth and I are very kind of not trendy people. We're just very good. I like the stories. Beth likes the products. And so we kind of want to keep telling the stories of these brands that we're both just so emphatic that just can't disappear because we're going through, pardon my French, a shitty part of the globe, right? We need to keep them visible. We need to keep them alive and in front of people, because our industry depends on it, and more than likely their business depends upon it. That's
well,
just
I think going back to that idea, Joseph, of at the end of the day, we're all small businesses. We are all dependent upon one another to keep going. The projects are not going to be what they need to be without these brands and these unique brands that are, like you said, it's not Starbucks. It's
not Starbucks.
It's the Alokas.
And the nice part about it is that literally every market, there are 5 or 6 or 42,000 manufacturers and brands where somebody in Tennessee has an idea about a product that they want to make and would go, oh my God, Libby Langdon would love this, or Jeff Johnson would love this. How do I get in front of them? And hopefully when that happens, we'll have a really great, I mean, I believe that we will, a really great platform to help them do that, you know, with its focus and passion for making sure that our business goes well into the next phase of whatever all this looks like.
And I think one of the other things, you know, you ask what else do you want to see in this program, and you know, I'd be lying if I don't say that I wake up in the middle of the night now thinking about where this could go next or what we could do next, because it's just it's so much fun to think about. And I've gotten so much feedback from friends in the design community and designers that have said, oh, you should really think about doing this. You should really think about doing this. And so I'm kind of hoping for the future of this program that keeps happening, that, you know, my friends in the industry and Joseph's friends in the industry, and even people we don't even know yet, will reach out to us and say, I've got this great idea for you guys to add on. And, you know, just come on in and let us know, because this is evolving and it's live.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that actually needs to be, you know, no one's going backward, right? I think there are a lot of tools that designers and brands have in front of them now that they've just kind of gotten used to. You know, I think people have gotten used to things like this, where instead of going to showroom to hear us talk about our clever little product, you know, they can go on to YouTube and find it. Or they can go and do internet searches and find the things that they want without having to, you know, work the same way that they used to. So I'm hoping that that's going to remain the same, you know, and that the value of the product is obviously still there. But anyway, I digress, because I'm very passionate about it.
We've talked about, you know, we've talked about how much fun it's going to be when we can be all back at Market together and at High Point, and what it's going to look like to have a designer discovery party at High Point. Right. You know, when you think about the idea of a designer discovery party with everybody that's been involved in the program, the designers, the brands, what that would look like, I mean, it'd be a blast. And I think that, again, it would be taking what we're trying to create here and putting it out there on the streets. And I think that there's going to be a great synergy once we are all able to be back together again. I don't think this is going away. I don't think anything could ever replace human interaction, but my hope is that this will just complement it, and it will be, again, just a place for us to permanently house some of these amazing conversations that are going on.
Hey, Beth, guess what?
What?
We've been doing this for an hour.
Our time's up.
Our time is kind of up. Does anybody have any questions before we sign off with a very magnificent flourish? Questions? All right. Flourishing. You are all, oh, you guys rock. No, Libby, you rock. All right. Thank you all so very much for coming. We'll send out an email with the video if you are interested. If not, look for our messaging. If you are a designer who has not become involved with our program, by all means, you can email hello@designer-discovery.com. If you are a brand that wants to know more, by all means, please do the same. And if you are one of the fabulous PR and marketing people on this who have your people involved in this, by all means, you can reach out to us and ask any more questions that you might possibly have. But with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye all.
Bye, everybody.